Oh, brilliant. Hello. What's your name?
Peter.
Peter. And what is it you're trying to show people?
I'm trying to show them here that Brexit is not a done deal.
So you think that we've probably been lied to and misled to vote for things?
Degree, yeah.
Like the bus that was supposed to be telling everybody about the NHS and all that. So no, I agree, you're doing a great job. We're also out trying to spread a few words. We've got a banner, as you can see, and I've got a few flyers of my own. Let me give you one. We also don't like being lied to, and we believe that we're being lied to about a lot of things.
Yeah.
So we're not going around asking people to believe us, we're just sharing results that we've had from experiments.
Wow, that's a fancy leaflet.
Thank you. One of the experiments, before you start thinking, oh no, the religious nuts, we're claiming that there isn't the curvature that we're told. Right. Because I live in Benidorm and I can see Alicante, where the airport is, 20 miles away. Now, mathematically, there should be a drop of 80 metres from 20 miles distance.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Water. No, this is the point. We want people to check the math, and whenever they can do the observation, check for themselves. There's supposed to be 80 metres drop from where I live to Alicante, and I know there isn't because I can see buildings that are not hidden behind the curve, buildings that are only 30 and 40 metres high from top to bottom in the day. On top of that, I can see the street lights of the beachfront of Alicante illuminated at night.
Right.
So I know that there isn't 80 metres drop where I live, so I'm asking people to check at a lake, a river or at seaside, wherever they can, and see if they can find curvature. I don't know if the Earth's flat or if it's a fourth dimensional shape that maybe we can't even visualise or understand. The point is we're being lied to about the size and shape of where we live, maybe to hide resources and hide land and maybe even hide other people, what we'd call extraterrestrials, extraterrain. We've also done experiments with the stars where we get a modern camera, make a video, and we can see that stars are not over 20 trillion miles away because our cameras can't see that far with such high resolution. Which begs the question, well, why do we still see the same constellations of the zodiac, like Aquarius and Scorpio? They've still got their claws in place. Orion's belt is still in line with the pyramids after built 10,000 years ago. So we're starting to think that the Big Bang's a load of bullshit as well. And when we see the half moon in front of the sun, when one's in the west and one's coming up in the east, you think, why aren't I seeing the full moon if it's reflecting sunlight? So we've checked with thermometers and everyone's finding that moonlight chills. So that looks like the moonwalk was a load of crap as well. Now they take £100 million of worldwide taxes, our taxes, per day. That's 40 billion a year that could go towards investigating cures and preventions for illnesses. It could help end world hunger. So it's a very big deal, 100 million, just to send us some Hollywood imagery and fool us, and also take away our own imagination of where we might be living. As well as that, 50 governments around the world trust NASA to combat climate change with putting more chemicals in the sky rather than taking the patents away from companies that take up renewable energy. So we're trying to show people we should wake up a little bit, ask more questions and more transparency to our taxes, and hopefully put an end to the bullshit, because we're better off having an open mind and an imagination than having guided and misled beliefs. So please look into it for yourself, and if you get the same results as we have, help us share the truth, because I can see that you're an active man and I appreciate that. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you. You too. Check it out. Moonlight chills water. They're lying to us. You can check for yourself. We're not asking anyone to believe. You do it for yourself. Thank you. What is it that you don't agree with?
Your spelling of the third word from the end. It should be believe, not belief.
Ah, okay, thank you for pointing that out. We'll make sure we get it right next time. But apart from the spelling mistake, did you know that moonlight chills water? Check with we're not asking you to believe, we're saying if you check with a thermometer, you'll see that moonlight chills water. If you check with a camera, you'll see that stars aren't that far away. And if you check at water level, you'll never see anything hidden behind curvature. Check it for yourself.
I'm not sure what the I mean, what
What's that point?
yeah.
Right. We give $100 million approximately per day of worldwide taxes. Yeah, if you add up all the space agencies. Now that's a lot of money that could help end world hunger. It could go to research illnesses. That's 100 million a day, 40 billion a year. Also, our governments trust the same people to combat climate change by putting more stuff in the skies rather than taking away patents to lower emissions. They put more in the sky. So we're questioning that all this trust we have in them and all this trust we have in what we see on television, because when we do the scientific experiments we're seeing that we're finding conflicting evidence. So we're asking people to check the science themselves.
I'm good with that. I like conflicting evidence, but
But you do agree that science is supposed to be repeatable rather than believing in scientists. That's religious, isn't it?
I'm okay with religion too.
Yeah, no, I am too, but I'm saying science is one thing and religion is another. I have faith in things, but I shouldn't have faith in scientists when my own experience proves that they're lying to us.
My experience doesn't.
Have you got any experience of what I'm telling you?
No.
Check the Moonlight. Thank you for being honest.
Bye now.
Can I give you a flyer? It's really simple science. We're asking people to check for themselves rather than believe us or keep believing the lies from television. Moonlight chills water. Check it with a thermometer. There's no measurable curvature, and when you make a video of a star with a new camera with a good lens, you'll see that they zoom in perfectly without distortion, so they're not as far away as they're telling us. We're being lied to. There's 100 million a day going towards Hollywood to fool us, and they're in charge of geoengineering to combat climate control without knowing if there's any secondary effects on our health. We trust too much. We should check for ourselves. Thank you. Have a lovely day. Like a flyer, lads?
Yeah, I got a flyer.
We're only asking people to do the science because you're not supposed to believe scientists. That's religious, isn't it? Science is about repeating an observation and measuring the results and comparing with other people, and that's what we're doing. And we're finding that if you look for curvature, well, you can't look for curvature, but if you look for things lost behind or below curvature at water level, you won't find it. And there should be, mathematically, over 20 miles, a loss of about 80 metres. Yet where I live in Benidorm, I can see buildings on that photo in the daytime, and I can see the street lights along the beachfront of Alicante at night. So I know there's not 80 metres drop over 20 miles. That's a load of shit. I call it globe syndrome. They tell us, oh, if you go to Antarctica and back, you'll come back to the same place, so don't explore. You need our rockets. So it's not just the 100 million a day that they're taking off us, it's the globe syndrome that we don't explore because we think we're stuck on a ball. I'll say it to you again. Control. Globalization means to control the whole world, doesn't it?
So what do you think they're trying to control us from?
Well, if we're like donkeys with blinkers, we're easy to control because we think we're free, because we don't bother exploring, because we think that we're on a ball and we can't go anywhere. We think there's nothing more to life apart from money, so we only focus on that carrot. So we're easy to control. We think we're free. They don't need slaves that rebel. They want people that think they've got a choice so that we're easy to control. Now they take 100 million a day of our money, yet the Moonlight's cold.
Whose money?
Taxes, worldwide taxes. Worldwide taxes. I'll say it to you slowly. Your tax money goes towards the European Space Agency. In America, they go towards NASA.
Yeah,
it's 100 million a day, 40 billion a year. Well, I tell you what, how about you hand it over to me and I'll show you what I can do with 40 billion a year. I could end world hunger soon, and I could also help... Well, how much does world... what's that fucking concert they do, Live Aid, yeah? How much do they raise for charity? Not 100 million a day, is it? So apart from the money that could help towards world hunger, all that money could go towards investigating cancer research, cures. This is big money. And not just the money, like I say. Stars are a lot closer, do a video. Moonlight chills water, there's no curvature. There's 100 million a day, and NASA are trusted to do geoengineering to combat climate change. Why not take away the patents of renewable energy that all these rich wankers have, rather than add more emissions to the sky? We're breathing that in.
Yeah, but see when people get degrees in like physics and for NASA, they just start lying.
No, everything's compartmentalised. So if you work behind a computer screen and you provided data and it all matches up, you're going to think that's great and you're doing your job. There's only 55 people that have been to outer space. It's not that big a conspiracy after all, is it?
Do you not believe in maths?
The what?
In maths and physics.
Of course I do. That's why I've told you, check the math.
There's more to that than just 6 figures on a sheet.
No, that's a summary. I'm saying if you check the math online with mathematicians, do the Pythagorean theorem. There's supposed to be measurable curvature, guys. Do the math and then do the observation, and if you don't find the curvature that the math says there is, you know you're being lied to about the dimensions. I'm not a flat earther, right? I believe that the face of water is always flat, but Earth could be a 4th dimensional shape. We don't know, right? But we're believing what we're being shown on a computer screen or a television, yet you watch... It could be. I don't know. I'm just saying... Why do you believe in a globe where whenever you see a globe, you never see stars behind it? Whenever you see a video turning, a video of the globe turning, look at the fucking clouds. Half a rotation's 12 hours. Why are the clouds not moving in 12 hours? It's fucking Disney, guys. Why do you watch the weather report and it's never in real time? Why do they never show a tornado or a storm from above, from outer space? Why do you never see Great Britain from outer space? You only see cartoons? Why? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why? That's all I'm saying. Question things. Thank you. Thank you very much. Would you like a flyer? It's about science. You should check for yourself rather than believe the lies. You believe your own eyes. Moonlight chills water within half an hour. You can check with a thermometer. There's never been any proof of curvature at water level. No matter the distance, nothing ever gets hidden behind the curvature. And stars, zoom in with a good camera and make a video and you'll prove to yourself that they're not as far away as we're being told. So we shouldn't be giving them 100 million per day of our money, taxes, to fool us with videos and imagery. And also we shouldn't trust them to be combating climate change by putting more stuff in the sky rather than lowering it. Thank you. Would you like a flyer? You can check it for yourselves. We're telling people to do science rather than believe scientists. You'll see that moonlight chills water within half an hour. There's no measurable curvature at water level, yet math says there should be. And stars come into focus, make a video and you'll see there's no distortion. Very, very close. They're not 20 trillion miles away like we're being told. They take 100 million a day to fool us, and the governments trust them to do the geoengineering to combat climate change. Why not lower the emissions before we put more in? Thank you.
But then is your opinion an informed one? You've not done experiments yourself. Is the whole world works on basis? Is it not just a belief you have there? Yeah, but if you did, you would choose to believe certain things you did. It's two. What are you looking? I'm just going for a YouTube channel.
Yes, no, this is what I've been talking about with my friends.
Would it be okay if I give you a flyer to check for yourselves? We're not asking people to believe, because that's the problem. We believe in NASA and what we see on television, right? Yet, if you do the experiments at water level, you'll never see anything hidden behind curvature, no matter the distance. Yet mathematics say that we should. Also, when you do a video of stars, you'll see that they're not that far away when you watch them in slow motion. Yet we're told they're 20 trillion miles away at least. Well, that makes me wonder, why is it we're shooting around the Milky Way at 500,000 miles an hour and the stars are still in line with Orion's belt, Giza pyramids? Why has Aquarius not dropped any water? Why is Scorpio still in place? We still see the same zodiac as the Egyptians, Aztecs and Mayans, and I bet you didn't know that moonlight chills water within half an hour, did you? You can check that with a thermometer. We're not asking people to believe us, and if you use a magnifying glass, it'll drop even more in temperature. So it can't be a reflection of sunlight, otherwise it'd be warm or neutral. It chills water. Now, they take $100 million a day of worldwide taxes that could help investigate and research illnesses. It could end world hunger pretty fast as well. So 100 million is a big amount of money, especially when it's ours. And also, the governments trust NASA to combat climate change by putting more emissions into the sky rather than lowering emissions by taking away all the patents of renewable energy. They're promoting GMO and vaccines, and 5G is totally safe. Maybe we shouldn't be so trustworthy. Maybe we shouldn't be so faithful. Science is supposed to be demonstratable, repeatable, measurable. It's not if you're just going to believe what you see on TV. So they're taking a lot of money and they're probably putting us on a lot of health risks. So we're asking people to do the science and check for yourselves. you'll see that they're good girl, because if you microwave water till it's hot and then wait till it's gone cold and water a plant, after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, your plant's dead. Thank you. So no one should be using microwaves. But that's just good because you're awake. I know.
I try not to
Leave it in another room when you're asleep. Turn it.
when I sleep, but I try not to use the phone. I just text.
Yeah, and try use the speaker. We've got to use these things, but we should raise awareness about the dangers so that they spend more time lowering the risks. You know, maybe we should be a little bit more aware of what they're doing so that they don't get away with it so easy, and we definitely shouldn't allow all that money to go to waste. More than anything, we're better off having our own imaginations and being able to explore inside and outside rather than being told we're on a ball and that you'll come back to the same place when there's no evidence of it. So yeah, just check it out for yourselves and do the science. Don't believe the lies, use your eyes. Is it okay if I use this to show people how you can have conversations on YouTube? Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. I can do better than that. I can give you one to take with you. What we're doing is we're not asking people to believe us. We're just asking people to stop believing lies and start using their eyes. Mathematics say that there's supposed to be a drop. Well, no matter the distance at sea level, I haven't been able to find one. I offered 10,000 euros in Spain on national television for proof of curvature. No one's been able to send me any evidence after 1.5 years. That's a bit suspicious. Also, we're told that we're floating around the Milky Way at 500,000 miles an hour with the sun. Yet, how come the stars are still in line with the pyramids of Egypt? How come the Aztec and Mayan calendars that showed the 12 zodiac signs are still in the same place? Zodiacs not only in the same place, but the Scorpio's still got claws in the same place. Aquarius hasn't dropped any water. You do a scientific experiment by making a video of star with a modern camera and you'll see they're not that far away. So they're lying to us about the distance of stars, the shape or size of the Earth. I'm not sure if it's flat or fourth dimensional. I don't care. I just don't like being lied to. I prefer to have an open mind, and I bet you didn't know that Moonlight chills water within half an hour. Don't believe me? Check yourself. Leave one glass in the shade outside, one glass in the moonlight. Check the temperature before and after. That stays the same, that drops. And if you use a magnifying glass, it drops even more. So it can't be a rock reflecting sunlight, otherwise it would be warm or neutral. Science proves we're being lied to, and that's 100 million a day, 40 billion a year that could help research illnesses and end world hunger. So it's a big deal. It's not just the money. Our governments are trusting these guys to combat climate change by putting more emissions in the sky rather than getting the patents to lower emissions. We're doing everything wrong because we trust what we see on TV and we don't trust our own senses. We see the sun and the moon the same size, yet we're told that one's 400 times bigger, but they're magically 400 times further away, so they appear the same size. Your senses are lying to you. Trust us. Well, we're saying nah. We don't want to trust anymore, we want evidence, and there is none. So if you don't mind, may I use this to show people how you can conversate about these things without debating and arguing? Thank you, and please do check for yourself. You just need a thermometer and a camera, and you've already done 3 of those experiments. Thank you, have a lovely day.
So you're aware that we are lied to? Where that happens and all the places you can identify were places which have horrible things.
Would you like a flyer? Check it out. Yeah. Would you like a flyer? Would you like a flyer? You can check it out for yourselves with a thermometer. Moonlight chills water. We're not telling you to believe us, we're telling people to check for themselves. Moonlight chills water, a camera shows that stars aren't that far away, and no matter the distance, nothing is ever hidden behind curvature at water level. So we're sure that we're being lied to. No? Okay, have a lovely day.
If you look at before the big guy, right, there's mass demonstrations in both countries.
I can give you one better than that.
Oh no, it's all lies, it's all lies. That's all lies.
What is?
All that.
What do you mean, sorry?
It's all lies.
That we're being lied to, or?
No. That's rubbish. That's rubbish.
Could you present any evidence to
Science is evidence.
That's what we're saying.
Science.
Well,
You're very naive.
No. If I may explain, we're not saying that the Earth is flat. We're saying that there isn't the curvature that we're told because we've done the science at water level.
Well, that's a mirage. Mirage effect can bring. You don't understand science. It's too difficult for me to explain.
No, I've heard but you're assuming I'm stupid, and that's a bit offensive.
If you believe all that, you are stupid.
Well, if I may say,
Naive,
sir.
very naive.
If I may say, sir.
Uneducated.
If I may say, sir, you're being rude. I'm being educated by trying to have a respectful conversation. I'm doing it.
Respecting you.
Have you done
I'm
it?
saying what I think.
Have you made the
I'm saying
experiment?
what you think.
Have you made the experiment at water level to
I
see
have
the
a degree
mirage?
From Edinburgh University.
That's why I'm happy to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is mathematics don't lie, right? You can check the math. Where I live, 20 miles away, I can see buildings from top to bottom. Some of them buildings are only 30, 40 metres tall. They're supposed to be 80 metres drop. Now, if you say that's a mirage, then the mirage would change during the different times of the day. The different light would affect the mirage. Different times of the year, the mirage would change. It's always permanent. I live there, and I've looked for the last 2 years. Yes, and I've offered €10,000 for evidence to conflict with mine, and nobody's been able to provide me any evidence. Only calculations, explanations, and theories. Okay. I can see streetlights at night time 20 miles away. Streetlights that are along the beachfront. How is there 80 metres drop if I can see streetlights that are 10 metres off the sea level?
Why can't you see further then?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. We can see further up because the atmosphere gets thinner. Do we agree on that? But when you look horizontally, the atmosphere is full of vapour and pollution. So no matter how strong your lens, there will always be an end point to how far you can see. That's why on clear days you can see further than on foggy days. So we agree on that. So I haven't found curvature, and no one else has been able to prove it. Okay, they've got excuses of saying it's mirage, which I heard and I believed at first as well. But then I started doing my own observations, and I thought, no, that's not a mirage, because every day I see the same thing, no matter the time of day. Now they tell us that stars are so far away that that's why they're still in line with the pyramids of Giza. That's why the Aztecs and Mayan calendars still show the same zodiac signs as they did 10,000, 12,000 years ago. But if you take a camera and do the experiment, because I'm all about science, you take a modern camera with a big lens and do a video of a star and watch it in slow motion on a big television with as much zoom as you can, there is no distortion. There's only high resolution of them changing colour, size, and even geometric shapes in high definition. So my camera can't see 20 trillion miles away, no matter how thin the atmosphere gets. So that tells me they're a lot closer than what we're being told. And that's probably why the yin-yang symbol was so famous throughout the ancient cultures that knew how to build pyramids and stuff that we don't know how they do.
The yin-yang is true, but modern science is not true.
Well, what do you think about the moonlight chilling water? Because my thermometer tells me after half an hour that the water's gone down in temperature. And if I use a magnifying glass, it goes even more down in temperature. So I'm talking science. I'm not asking anyone to believe me. You do this experiment and see if moonlight chills water like it did to everyone else that's tried, and then tell me how they've walked on a rock that reflects sunlight. Because if it's reflecting sunlight, and 12% of the light is what we receive from the moon, yeah? So shouldn't it make the water 12% higher or neutral? It shouldn't drop in temperature. So we're being lied to about what the moon is. Now, a lot of people don't believe they went to the moon in the 60s, but they now think that NASA's honest. And I'm saying, well, any business that can get away with lying is going to keep lying. They're not going to turn honest, are they? Oh, if you don't want me to record you, I won't, don't worry.
Filming us for his channel.
Yeah, because I'm trying to show people how we should be able to...
He's filming us for his channel.
I'm just trying to show people...
He's filming us for his channel.
We're trying to show people how you should be able to question science, because science is supposed to be refutable, falsifiable. But every time we come out and say, well, we've got conflicting evidence, straight away, and I'm not against you now because we've been programmed to do this, we're programmed to believe that these scientists that are more clever than us are right, and we shouldn't question them. Yeah, they might be in some things, but I believe that if we find conflicting evidence, we should be able to talk about it.
How do you explain this?
Well, I haven't been to the moon. I'm just going off the scientific evidence that I've seen with my own personal experience. If moonlight chills water, that tells me that the yin-yang Try it.
Moonlight, a glass out. What about the ambient temperature around you?
So you can do it with two glasses, and you leave one in the shade in the same garden, and you put the other one in the moonlight. make science, and you can up make the conditions stricter and stricter and stricter, because that's science. You're supposed to improve the method to make sure the results are right. Before assuming I'm wrong, do the experiment, and you'll see that moonlight chills water, which tells me that the yin-yang symbol was probably a representation of where we live, saying that a big atmosphere, and that there's a feminine energy, which, if you don't mind, which is why every month you have a new moon, and there's a masculine energy, hot, cold, if you don't mind me saying. And that's probably what the yin-yang was trying to say. It was a representation.
Moonlight, it has to be an open space.
Yep.
Where there's no cover.
Exactly.
And that is a colder space. That's why it chills.
I'll say it to you again. If I take 2 glasses outside into my garden, in the same garden, and I leave one in the shade, and I leave one in the moonlight. Now, there's nothing above that glass. They're both in the same ambience.
So
they're both in the same atmosphere.
More clear area, obviously, to get moonlight. See, if the moon was there,
yeah,
it would be more clear. But
yeah. But if you put the other one behind a wall or a bench or a tree, so it's still in the same area.
It's not. It's a different area.
Why would the shade of the moonlight make such a big difference if the air is the same temperature around us?
Cold on a starry night. It's because the heat. The clouds don't hold in the heat.
Radiative heating, I understand all about radiative cooling. I've learned all this. I've been debating this for 2 years. But my question is, if I get a magnifying glass, why does it go down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit colder? Why would a magnifying glass decrease the temperature more if it wasn't a cold light?
Take you by your word.
No, you have to check for yourself, because we can all get a thermometer that you use for food, and we can all fill a glass full of water and leave it in the shade, check the temperature, put it in the moonlight, or leave 2 outside.
Grasping is there's so many variables in this.
Which is why we're asking people to make the experiments. Which is why we're asking people to make the experiments and present the counter.
Take into account the cover, for example.
Right, if nobody bothered making experiments because they were told there's too many variables, we wouldn't advance, would we? So what we're doing is we're saying make the experiments, and if you can prove we're wrong, we're very open-minded to be told what we've done wrong. But if you're not going to present any evidence, I'm not on about you, I'm on about everyone. If nobody presents counter-evidence of curvature, of stars being further away or moonlight not chilling, well, if no one's going to present counter-evidence, then we're going to come to the concur that we're onto something, because everyone that we've asked to do it that has got the same results.
What do you think that something is? You're onto something.
That we're being lied to, because these guys take $100 million a day to show us. I'm sure that using scientific method, which is cancelling out the false theories, you get closer to the truth.
And what is the truth?
I aren't lying to you, so I can't tell you that the Earth is flat or a 4th dimensional shape or a lot bigger than they tell us. I can just tell you that it doesn't measure what they tell us, because the curvature isn't evident no matter what distance over water level.
There's tens of thousands of people worked on the Apollo missions.
Yeah, but how many went to space? There's been 55 people that have gone to outer space, supposedly. That's only 55 people out of all the billions of people. That's not a big conspiracy, is it?
All these people wouldn't be fooled who are in on it.
Everything's compartmentalised. If you're behind a computer screen and you're seeing data, you think everything's right, don't you? Because that's your job, to look at that screen and take that data. There's not that many people behind it as you'd think there is. There's 55 people that have been up to outer space, supposedly, in the world.
So what is your assumption? You think that
my assumption is we're being lied to, because if we think we're on a ball,
why would someone
easy. One, they take $100 million a day. That's 40 billion a year. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, but it doesn't go into the pocket, does it? Why would they lie? Why? What is the motive?
Well, 100 million a day is a lot of money. 100 million a day.
It doesn't go to one person. It goes to millions of people.
It goes to the space agencies. Yeah. And the space agencies are all run by NASA.
Yeah, but why would they lie?
Apart from the money, if we have globe syndrome, thinking that if we go around we'll come back to the same place, then we're not going to bother travelling. There's not going to be any exploration. Where if it's not a ball or a bigger ball, and there's more land, extra terrain, there'll be extra resources, maybe extraterrestrials, and we're not travelling because we've been told we're on a ball, don't bother, you need our rockets to get anywhere. So it's globe syndrome. We're being controlled.
What do you think there is? That you think that the Earth is bigger than what it is?
It's got to be one or the other. It's either got to be a lot bigger than what they tell us, which is why we can't measure curvature, with any telescope or camera loss. And even when you go up like Red Bull did to do the skydive, 40 kilometers high he went.
See the curvature there.
I'm so glad you said that. Watch that video again now that I've given you a little bit to think about. You've got new eyes, you've got a critical mind now, you're going to question that evidence.
Now that I've met you, I have a critical mind.
No, I'm saying about this subject. I'm not after a debate, mate. I'm not trying to insult you. What I'm saying is, when he opens the door, watch the video in case I've photoshopped these images, yeah? Watch the video again. When he opens the door, it's eye level. Yeah, we know that if you go up, a curve in every direction means the higher you go, the lower you should have to look down to find that horizon. Yet it's eye level no matter how high you go. And yes, we see curvature when he steps out, but where's the ocean? It's supposed to be 70% covered in water. That's what they keep telling us and showing us. Where's the water? It's a bad photo, but if you watch the video, you'll see it's all brown. Now, we also see the moon, when they're on it, Earth's small. When they're behind it, that means they're further away, Earth's big. That's NASA. They've contradicted themselves. There's never any stars. There's never any stars. The surface of the moon is dull, yet we see it very bright when we look at it. And like I said, the moonlight chills.
Tell me,
So,
what is
the line.
what do you do? What is your what do you
Right now,
how do you
I do
earn-
this. I'm traveling, trying to help people realize that we're being lied to, because 100 million a day could stop a lot of illnesses. It could prevent and cure a lot of illnesses if it went into research. It could help end world hunger and poverty. So it's a lot of money that matters. And also being told to believe something is like being a donkey with blinkers.
No,
We're focusing
I
on
like the
something
way-
instead of seen as more.
I really like your way of thinking.
Thank you.
And I listen to you, and I see how you're in the cage of.
You aren't passionate about science. I think science
Me too.
is the way that
Me
the
too.
truth is revealed.
I agree with you.
Nothing-
I agree with you.
He checked something, and he sees
I mean,
there is
I do
this.
give him credit for having some scientific...
That's scientific
whatever, but
method.
He's
Scientific methods.
interested and he's checking, and I like it very
But I'm
much.
still very
it's
skeptical
science.
about what you
And
say.
Good,
I'm
which
not
is why I'm
very,
asking you
very
to
good.
check.
I'm not-
Take that, I've got
Get
1,000.
a glass of water tonight.
Yeah.
I'll take
Please,
out.
it has to be full moon or the waning phase, because it's got different phases, like a lady has different phases of a new moon.
But I disagree with this, that the moon landings are a hoax. I think the moon landings are real.
But that's a belief. Can we agree on that?
No.
You have no scientific evidence to
I have
prove
lot of
it's
sci-
a
I have
belief.
big scientific background.
What do you say?
I've been trained.
No. You know, I appreciate you very much. I see you. We are very knowledgeable and blah blah blah. But what are you saying about what compared to what he's saying? What
Well, I'm saying the moon landings did happen.
In the 60s,
the moon what?
in 1960, without even having iPhone
69?
technology.
1969.
Yeah?
We landed on the moon on the 20th of July.
Okay. Now, isn't it strange that Stanley Kubrick was doing the Space Odyssey movie at the same time and had all of the sets to fake a film called Space Odyssey 2001? It's very interesting that that's the same year. It's also
Because we say that the man's brain is one all
take
over the world.
pictures.
If you think something, it's all the brains in the world have it.
Yeah.
So
But
actually,
they've
you're saying the
taken
same
there are
thing.
photographs of what they left on the moon.
Right. Now, I can show you photographs of the print that the sole of the foot has left, and it shows lines. Yet if you look at the sole of the boots of the spacesuits, they're not lined.
They are lined. I watched Apollo 11 last night, and they are lined.
Well, I've got
They're this
this is the point. Rather than debate secondary information,
It's not secondary information.
you haven't been to the moon. I haven't been to the moon. We're taking secondary information we've seen on television and we're debating beliefs. We have no knowledge about that because that's secondary information. That's not scientific. We shouldn't believe
I have
lies.
a better
We should
scientific
use our
grasp
eyes.
than 90% of people say that that's a hoax. I have a better scientific grasp. For example, some of the evidence they come up with, they say, oh, how can Neil Armstrong be heard when there's a big rocket under him? He's in a vacuum.
Yeah.
That's why.
So if you're in a vacuum, how can you have combustion if there's no air? How can you have propulsion if there's no friction in a vacuum? How can you be propelled? Now, a boat pushes on water. A boat pushes on water. An aeroplane pushes the air, the vapor, and that in the
No,
air.
you've got that completely wrong. This is you're showing your ignorance.
I'm not ignorant. I'm asking questions, and I'm open for your help.
Take off. It's not pushing against the ground. When a rocket takes, you could put that rocket 10 miles up, hanging in mid-air, and it would still go up because it's propulsion.
Of what though? So how can it, if it's not pushing against anything, how can it have any torque? How can it have any? If there's no resistance, if there's no friction to push on, how can it be propelled to nothing?
From the engine.
But how can there be combustion in a vacuum?
There's no opposite reaction.
Sorry?
It's Newtonian mechanics. It's very, very simple. Equal and opposite reaction. Everything has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator and it's orbiting the Sun at 66,000 miles an hour, and the Sun is orbiting the Milky Way at 495 thousand miles per hour, have we got any rockets that can go that fast? How did we get to the moon, or better, how did we get to go to Mars and get back from the moon or Mars? Yeah, how do we take off from something that we've left Earth's gravity?
Basic stuff that you misunderstand.
Let me just say it again. We've left Earth's gravity to go to the moon or to Mars. So to get back to Earth, we would have to accelerate faster than Earth's orbit of 66,000 miles an hour. I'm not even talking about the Sun going 500,000 miles an hour. How do we get back to Earth if we haven't got a rocket that goes 66,000 miles an hour?
You're wrong, because the Earth is the orbit. The moon is orbiting with the Earth.
Yeah, but when we've left Earth's gravity, that means that we've got to catch back up with Earth's gravity, Earth's orbit. And if Earth's orbit is 66,000 miles an hour, we'd have to go faster than that.
No,
if we've gone to the Mars, if we've gone to Mars, we've gone past Saturn, haven't we?
When you're on a bus, you can walk from one end to the other.
Yeah, but we've left Earth's gravity to go to the moon. We've left Earth's gravity if we want to go to Mars. How do we get back?
You know,
I
don't want to interrupt. I'm leaving, but it seems like you're very interested in these things, and he is presenting another
argument, explanation,
whatever. But correct or wrong.
But no evidence.
No evidence. No, he's not. It's not a matter of evidence, not evidence. But he says, I'm in the middle.
No, I appreciate it, and I appreciate this conversation.
I don't have any interest. Interest, I don't know how you say it, I don't have any motive. But why don't you bring these questions that you have, which I really appreciate,
to the authorities?
Not authorities, to the people that deal with it.
We do. For 2 years I've been offering 10,000 euros for proof of curvature, and nobody's sent any evidence. For 3 years my friend's been sending letters, emails, radio broadcasts to NASA and people asking, can you present us any evidence instead of just explanations and calculations? Why? Not just 100 million a day.
Calculation and is a kind of an evidence? No, you don't.
A calculation, if it can be seen in reality as evidence, but if it's only on paper, then it's theoretical.
Right.
Now, NASA are trusted by 50 governments around the world to do geoengineering to combat climate change. Why not lower the emissions to combat climate change by taking away the patents of renewable energy before putting more emissions in the sky? So, we shouldn't trust them so much. We should be able to question them and ask for evidence.
I do believe,
and I appreciate this conversation, but I ask you to do the experiment of the moon, and if you find out that I'm right, help us share the truth that we're being lied to. If you find out I'm wrong, present the evidence to me, because no one else has been able to.
I'll give you an explanation why it happened.
I'm still open to explanations, but I'd like to see if you could get the Moonlight to actually warm water rather than to chill water, and check with a magnifying glass and tell me why does it drop even more in temperature with a magnifying glass.
Healthy skepticism. I respect healthy skepticism.
Yeah. Me too.
And you agree that we're not asking you to believe us, we're only asking you to do the scientific method and test for yourself.
Good luck to you. And
thank
you. I never lived in a world that I suspect suspicious. Like
me neither. Only since I've done my own experiments. Instead of believing the lies, I now believe my eyes.
Yeah, I appreciate you did something.
You have to wait for it to come on DVD. Very good.
But then watch other evidence that says it's not true, and take both sides of the story. But more than that, rather than, I'm not asking people to watch videos or listen to anyone else's evidence, I'm asking you to get your own evidence. That is scientific method.
I like it very much. Very good.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and I do enjoy different opinions and arguments to make me think out of my box as well.
Good. That's helpful. That's good.
That's brilliant. And am I okay if I use the video to show people how we can have different, agree to disagree?
You have my...
Thank you. I appreciate it. What was your name, sorry?
Alan.
Alan, my name's Howard. And I really do look forward. If you find me on YouTube, you let me know how you got on.
Possibly.
Thank you. Take care, mate. Can I give you a flyer? It's science. Check for yourself. Moonlight chills water within half an hour. There's no measurable curvature at water level. You can check by looking at islands or along the coast. Nothing's ever hidden behind the curvature. Math says it should be. And also with a modern camera you can check that stars are not as far away as we're being told, because you can see them in high resolution without any distortion. Now, not only are these guys taking 100 million per day, 40 billion a year, that could help investigate, research illnesses, cures and preventions, they're also in charge of the geoengineering that 50 countries, more than 50 countries around the world trust them to add more emissions to the sky rather than taking the patents away. We could be getting illnesses from these kind of things because we trust them rather than trusting our senses. So yeah, do those little experiments, and if you find different results, I'd love to know. If you find the same results, please help share the truth that we're being lied to and programmed. You can find John Smith's Globe Lie on YouTube. He's got a really big following, and we are open to conflicting evidence. We haven't had any yet. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I give you a flyer, guys? Okay. Would you like one, sir? We're recommending people do science rather than trust scientists, because, you know, that's a faith, isn't it? Now, to me, it's a bit religious that we're told when we're 4 years old that we live on a ball and that water sticks to it and that gravity exists, but it's still called a theory. So they tell us this stuff before we have a critical mind, before we can question and demand evidence. So we grow up believing what we've been told because the people that are telling us have grown up believing what they've been told. Yet when you do the science, you'll see there's no measurable curvature at water level. Stars, when you record a video, turn out to be a lot closer than what we're told, which makes you think, well, why are they still in line with the pyramids of Egypt? Why are we still seeing Aquarius without dropping water and Scorpio without losing its claws? If the Big Bang was real, everything should have changed after 10,000 years. The Aztecs and the Mayans carved it in stone, as well as the Egyptians. So we've got historical evidence and video evidence that we're being lied to. Camera, telescope, or your own eyes, you'll even see street lights from 20, 30 miles away at sea level, yet there's supposed to be 80, 90 metres drop, so there isn't. And Moonlight chills water within half an hour. You only need a thermometer to check it. Now, if the Moonlight chills water, it can't be a rock reflecting sunlight. I'm sure you can agree with everything I'm saying. It's science. So they're taking 100 million a day to brainwash us and show us Hollywood imagery and videos. Yet whenever you watch the Earth spinning from outer space, now you've got new eyes to think, oh, hold on, why are the clouds the same? Because half a rotation is 12 hours. Yet if the clouds are the same throughout the whole rotation, that means that it's a load of crap on the video, editing, Photoshop tools and stuff like that. They're lying to us, mate. They're taking a lot of money. And that money could go towards helping research and cure, prevent illnesses, you know what I mean? That's a lot of money that could end world hunger. And not only are they taking money, because the governments trust them so much, they're combating climate change by spraying stuff in the skies without knowing if there's any secondary effects on our life. Do you know what I mean? So, and they're also promoting GMOs and all that stuff. So we're saying we should not trust scientists, we should do a little bit of science for ourselves. Please take a photo and do them experiments. Exactly. A lot of people are offended that we're questioning what we've been told, and we're saying what's wrong with having an open mind, you know? The whole idea of science is it's supposed to be reproducible and falsifiable. You're supposed to scrap old theories when they're obsolete and update them, yet we're being threatened and humiliated by people, as well as the authorities ignoring us. And we're thinking, well, isn't that the point of science? You know, they all denied that tobacco could be dangerous at first, and they denied that asbestos could be dangerous until enough independent investigation and people stood up for the rights, and it turned out to be true. Is it okay if I use this conversation for YouTube just to show people how we can approach and have conversation instead of debates.
That's fine, yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, mate. Would you like a flyer? That's not scientific, that's religious. Would you like a flyer, guys? Do the science. Rather than believe scientists and whatever they say and whatever you see on TV, which is religion, we're asking people to actually do the science. And it's dead simple. There's 3 experiments with a camera, telescope or your eyes. Whatever the distance at water level, we aren't finding anything lost below curvature. Yet mathematics says we should, after 15, 20 miles, there should be a lot of loss, but there isn't. So it's only on paper, not in reality.
Loss in what sense?
Well, if there's 80, where I live in Benidorm, 20 miles away straight, I can see Alicante buildings from top to bottom in the daytime, and I can see street lights along the beachfront of Alicante lit at night, and everyone else can.
Is that not to do with the curvature of light though and diffraction?
So if it was, I'm glad you've got a bit of knowledge, because a lot of people just believe what they've been shown, but you've got obviously a few explanations in there as well. If it was light, then different times of the day there would be different holograms or different light reflection. Different times of the year, different seasons would give different results. It doesn't matter the distance or the time of year or the time of day, you get the same results. I can go to Blackpool and see the Isle of Man. That's 100 miles away if I remember right. You shouldn't see it. Right? So it doesn't matter where you do it, what time of the year you do it, what time of the day you do it, there's never any loss due to curvature, yet there should be. Okay? And if Red Bull can go up 40 kilometres and open the door and the horizon's still at his eye level, that suggests that it doesn't curve down in every direction.
But
so it looks like we're being
by,
lied to about the curvature or the size.
No loss, so?
I'll say it again. If there's an 80 metre drop, then there should be 80 metres of landscape below the curve, below what you call the horizon when you're looking out from 20 miles away.
No, because diffraction bends light around solid objects.
So we're told, but we've never...
So you're disputing the fundamental principles of physics that light bends depending on gravity.
Well, gravity has never been proven. It's a theory, hence why it's called a theory. Density,
how do you think you're standing here?
Density, because you're denser than the air, the medium you're in. Now, you float in salt water, but you sink in fresh water, am I right?
So
where's the gravity in the salt water?
So you're saying that gravity does not exist?
I'm supposing that gravity isn't what we think it is, because we've been told it keeps everyone on a ball, water and people in Australia. Now, hold on. If the Earth isn't round, there is an up and there's a down, and things will find an order of relative density. Am I right so far? So why am I right in saying that water vapour rises? So does helium and smoke. There's no gravity there. Yeah,
so
but when it condenses into a... Let me just finish saying this. When water vapour condenses into a cloud, rain drops, because it's denser than the air then. But when it's not denser than the air, where's the gravity?
So what's on the other side of the world, and where is the end of the world?
Right, I'm glad you asked. Nobody's ever crossed the Antarctica. Did you know that? Nobody's ever flown from north to south, south to north. We've only ever gone from around the world eastwards or westwards, which explains the yin-yang symbol. Now, we're told that the sun and the moon are different sizes. One's 400 times bigger, but magically 400 times further away, so they appear to be the same size, and the sun isn't moving around us, we're moving around it. We're told everything as if it's true, but we have no evidence. We're told not to believe our senses. We've never seen curvature. The stars are still the same as 10,000 years ago, and moonlight chills water. You can check with a thermometer. This is science. We're asking people to repeat the experiments rather than believe the lies. Use your eyes.
So your point is...
They take 100 million a day to fool us.
So gravity doesn't exist?
I didn't say it doesn't exist.
Well,
it's not what we think it is.
It's not what we think it is. So what is it then?
I aren't lying to you, and I aren't full of all the truth. I'm just showing you how you can prove it's not curved. The stars aren't far away and moonlight chills.
So how do you disprove gravity and what we think of gravity at the moment?
Right. They tell us that gravity is a
who's
force.
They, by the way? Every scientist in the world?
The people that brought up the theories of gravity, that indoctrinated other scientists to then promote the theories of gravity, hence why it's called theory, yeah, are just believing the calculations and the observations and an understanding that they've been explained. Yeah, I'll say it to you again. Before we thought we were on a ball, yeah things drop because of density, or maybe there's an electromagnetism force pulling things down. The point is, it's pulling down, it's not pulling towards the centre. Henry Cavendish made an experiment in the 17th century claiming that he'd put 2 big lead balls in his shed and he saw them move towards each other. Nobody's ever reproduced that experiment, yet they teach it in universities as a fact. So there's no evidence of gravity because it's never been manipulated. They've only measured the speed that things drop. But they can only put an explanation to why they think things drop, but they can't prove it unless they manipulate it. It's not the independent variable. So like I say, I'm talking science. I'm not asking anyone to believe me, but simple experiments prove we're being lied to. Now, our interpretation of gravity, as I say, is that things are pulled towards the centre, where I'm sure we could agree that if the Earth was flat or a fourth dimensional shape and there's no curve, then maybe there is gravity, but it's pulling down. It's not pulling towards the centre, because that's never been proven.
But just going back to the point about the fact the Earth is flat.
Possibly. Could be a fourth dimensional shape. It could be a lot. It could be a ball, but then it's a heck of a lot bigger than what we're told, because mathematics say that we should lose things below or behind curvature, and we don't. And Red Bull went up 40 kilometres, and we see the horizon at his eye level at 40 kilometres high. Now, if there's a curve down, the higher I go, the lower I should have to look down to find curvature. So not only are they taking 100 million a day of our money, worldwide taxes, they're also in charge of geoengineering to combat climate control. Now, before they add emissions to the air, why don't they lower the emissions by taking away all the patents of renewable technology? Why? Because we trust them. Without knowing if there's any effects, without any independent investigation, we trust. We're just asking people to check for yourselves.
Well, fascinating theories.
Thank you. And no, but apart from the theory, if you do a moonlight test with a thermometer and you see that water drops in temperature 2 or 3 degrees under moonlight compared to in the shade, and then you get a magnifying glass and it goes down even further in temperature, would you agree it's not a theory that moonlight chills? If you get the personal experience and you see that it chills water.
You've kind of lost me now. But,
it's on that picture.
I'll have a look.
If moonlight chills water, then you know it's not a theory, don't you? Yeah, check it for yourself, and thank you. Would you like a flyer? No? Hello, would it be okay if I give you a flyer?
I don't think I'll use it.
It's just to check for yourself. Moonlight chills water within half an hour. You can check with a thermometer. You make a video of stars, you see they're not that far away like we're told, and whenever you're at water level, whether it be a lake, a river, or sea, even better, no matter the distance, you never lose anything behind curvature, yet mathematics say you should. So check the science and you'll see we're being lied to for 100 million a day, and these guys are trying to combat climate change by spraying stuff in the sky because they believe them. We shouldn't believe these guys. We should take away the emissions before we add more.
Interesting idea, but I think you're better off giving it to someone else.
Thank you very much. You too. Hi guys. What do you think? It's pretty out there, isn't it? Be honest, don't worry. We've heard it all.
So, do you believe other conspiracy theories?
How many do you want?
What with vaccinations? Do you believe in things like that?
I believe we could look into alternative remedies and take away the mercury from vaccinations. I'm not saying scrap them.
Okay.
Do you agree with that so far?
Well, I'm a doctor.
Good. So is there any need for mercury to be in a vaccine?
Not that much, quite a bit. So
Mercury?
I'm not a specialist in vaccinations.
You know about mercury? It's
So sorry, what's your background, medically? Or scientifically?
No, but from what I'm learning, there's no need for mercury to be in a vaccination.
But learning's a very...
Am I wrong about that? Is mercury...
I'm not sure, I'm not an expert. You're the...
Thank you.
Okay.
So the research I've been looking into says that there is no need for mercury to be in vaccinations. They could do it without mercury and it wouldn't be causing autism and side effects that different.
It does not cause autism. That is
excuse me. I've seen many testimonials of parents that have got kids with autism that have said that the kid didn't have autism before they had vaccinations. It's not a lie, sir. It's a suggestion. It's a suggestion. We're asking. Can I just finish my sentence? We're asking for independent investigation rather than people just saying it doesn't. Do you see the difference?
But even if I know the difference.
We're saying it might do, because there's
you know
many
the
kids with
mandate-
autism now that didn't have autism years ago, when I was a kid, right? So vaccinations are going up, so is autism. It looks like there's a correlation, so we're asking people to look into it. But rather than get into that, we're saying
No, let's stick with that.
we're saying that
No, 'cause
I'm
it's the most
not.
dangerous of them
I'm
all. I don't
saying
mind if you think the
there's
world's
nothing
flat or whatever.
dangerous about saying why are they promoting on the global Golden Globe Awards vaccinations if they're so safe? Why don't they just let people choose? And why is it that they're pushing vaccination? No, there isn't. In America, you have now. This is what I'm saying. I've been doing research, and I appreciate you've got a better qualifications than me. But look into this with your own time.
but my
In
point is
America,
that
they are implying that if you don't have your children vaccinated, they cannot go to that school. They have to be
Yeah,
homeschooled.
rightly so.
But let me just ask you a
Herd
question.
immunity.
If you've been vaccinated and he hasn't, what have you got to worry about?
No, but
It's
that's
his
for
risk.
other
What have you got to
children.
worry about?
It's for other children.
If every children that's been vaccinated has been vaccinated, they've got nothing to worry about if the vaccinations work.
No, but some people can't have vaccinations. As in, there are like subgroups of children who have immune deficiencies, etc., that can't have live vaccinations.
Yeah.
So we rely on the fact that the rest of society have them to prevent. And once you reach a critical mass, for example, smallpox, which is now eradicated, you need a critical mass. Yeah, it's not now, but was.
Is there any harm in looking for other treatments that don't have as many side effects, or taking away the mercury, or having different agencies make vaccinations with different recipes so people can choose which brand or which recipe? Thank you.
You know, companies are free to develop other vaccines.
Yeah, it's kind of a government-imposed thing, and also, like I'm saying, it's been promoted in the Globe.
To go to the autism link, so that
Golden Globe Awards made humour. It's about vaccinations. It's about vaccinations. The Golden Globe Awards promote them with humour to deflect from all the people's accusations. Why would they need to use humour to brainwash us?
Like, autism is better than dying of smallpox. Like, autism is a bit like dyslexia, right? If you cause dyslexia but you save kids' lives, so what?
That's your point of view, but we're saying that nobody should... The idea of technology and science and medication is to improve, and that's all we're trying to say. If people do the science...
The link of autism and any vaccination was from a fraudulent paper. A man who has gone to jail has been struck off from the General Medical Council because he was fraudulently lying to people.
Don't many people go to jail for things that are against the establishment, and then later on, like people that said tobacco might not be good, or asbestos? Am I right about this? Asbestos. Didn't people that said asbestos...
I don't know about asbestos.
I do. People that said asbestos was dangerous got put in jail. Don't get angry.
Let me finish my sentence.
You just said that something that's not true.
Let me finish my sentence. He was getting funded from, well, he'd invested into a company.
Do the science, don't believe the lies.
It would, he stood to profit, basically, from proving that vaccines caused autism. So he was completely biased, and then has subsequently been proven to lie. Do you know, I can't believe that people like you spurt this shit. It is shit, I'm sorry to say it, and they're very dangerous.
Do you know what's dangerous? A closed mind. And that's what you've got.
That's what you've got.
No, we're asking people to do science.
I've got a medical degree. And
excuse me, you keep interrupting me, and now you're walking. Don't tell me fuck off. If I haven't noticed the camera, let me just tell you one thing, mate. Let me just tell you one thing. I'm only telling you one thing, yeah? We're asking people to do scientific experiments, not to believe us. If you don't want to do them, that makes you ignorant. That doesn't make us ignorant. And he's got a big mouth, and he should watch his fucking self. Yeah? Hello.
Hello.
Are you interested?
I'm just wondering why it's there.
Well, I'm wondering why 50 governments around the world trust NASA to spray chemicals in our air
I agree.
to combat climate change, when really we should take away all the emissions before we add more to the skies.
Yes, I don't know if that is actually, I mean, they say that that's just chemtrails, I don't see it.
Well, you know, when you say the word chemtrails, people assume you're a conspiracy theorist and all of a sudden you're a loon.
Okay.
So I prefer to say what they call it. In Spanish, I live in Spain, it's called artificial weather modification or geoengineering.
That's interesting.
But whatever they want to call it, like I said, 2 + 2 makes 4, you know? So if you want to take away the emissions, you shouldn't add more. Well, the point that we're doing this is, not only do the governments trust NASA to fumigate, they also take our taxes worldwide and give them to go to space. So I'm going to give you this flyer so you can check it out for yourself, because we're not asking people to believe us, we're asking people to check for themselves, and if you get different results, please let us know.
I'm actually working in here, so I'll let you keep that.
I've got 1,000. Please read it when you've finished work and check out the experiments, they're real easy.
Is that your banner?
No. I'm just helping out.
Whose banner is it?
Harry's. Would you like to...
Is it your banner?
Yes, would you like to tell me what you think of it?
Would it be okay if I give you girls a flyer?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
We're not religious fanatics. We're against all these people that believe in scientists when you can't check for yourself. I live at the sea in Benidorm, I'm very lucky, and I've seen that there isn't 80 metres drop like they're telling us there is mathematically from Benidorm to Alicante, because I see buildings in the day and I see the street lights at night. They tell us that stars are so far away that that's why Scorpio's still got its claws and why Aquarius hasn't dropped any water in 10,000 years since the pyramids were built in line and the Aztecs and Mayans did the calendars. Well, they can't be that far away, 25 trillion miles away, because my camera picks up high resolution when they change colour, shape and size. You check for yourself with a modern camera whenever you're at sea level, and also when you see half a moon in front of the sun and you think, why is it not a full moon when it's in the east and that's in the west? It's because it's a lady light, it's a feminine energy. How do I know? Because it chills water after 30 minutes with any thermometer. You check for yourself, don't believe me. These prove that we're being lied to for $100 million of worldwide taxes a day that could end world hunger and go towards investigating cures and preventions for illnesses. Our governments trust that these guys combat climate change. Do you see that? NASA are in charge. It's on the Spanish website, and they're also promoting all that junk. Check it out and help us spread the truth. Thank you.
Just distracting it down, that was a...
No problem.
It looked shut.
राम ही तुम्हें तो राम ही तुम्हें तुझको
नीरा प्रथम अभ्यते दिन बीते समय उठिले रिपुवान
हे भानु कमले कुल को निहारा नमा मिलन
राजारी जरी तुम्हारी चाहता उतारी रोदाऊं करी उपाय बरी बारी
महीना तो गजबाद पड़े निजमत जानहु
अमा मन मलिन मोमी जनिपो काउर तरल कुगाई रामा बिहारी चतुर कबीर राम महतारी निज पाई निज बात पवारे